Greetings to you all. Greetings to you all. Welcome again to Brand Institute of Forensics and Security. We are starting our second journey of our course after the continuous assessment tests and also the giveaway assignment. And I hope that everybody is doing well. I hope that we are moving in the same direction. And I'm looking forward to receiving your assignments. And also I am hopeful that you did well in the continuous assessment tests, which I'll have a look at this week. I have equally been on break. I had traveled to another part of the state where I'm staying. So for the last 2 weekends, I have not been recording any videos. I have been on a rest. So I am resuming today, and we are going to continue with strategic management. And today we shall be focusing on lesson 6, which is internal factors evaluation matrix. Internal factors evaluation matrix. Remember, strategic management is very, very important for the success of any organization. Strategic management focuses on plans, objectives, and goals for an organization achieving its value and its mission, values and its mission. And also, of course, for those organizations that are in revenue generation and even those that do not generate revenue, actually strategic management is very important for the success of any organization. So today we shall look at internal factors evaluation and matrix, and we shall start by looking at strengths and weaknesses. And we say every organization has its strengths and weaknesses. Even you as an individual, you have your own strengths and weaknesses. Even as a marriage, it has its own strengths and weaknesses. Even in institutions, even churches, every organization has its strengths and weaknesses. The strength and weakness do occur in varying degrees in the functional areas such as production, operation, marketing, finance, personnel, and so on and so on. Weaknesses exist in every part of the organization. For example, even we have a security department. Every organization has its security department. There could be weaknesses in the security department, and the weaknesses will be maybe the procedures are not well defined. The people who have been employed are not up to the task. There is a lacking training and continuous development, or there is a lacking motivation in the team. Those are some of the weaknesses that we talk about. And we can also say on the other side of strength in every organization as it relates to security, it could be that there are very good employees in the security department who do their work in a very effective way, or the systems in place, including CCTV surveillance, including access management systems, are up to date and are operational. Therefore, a firm must find out its strengths and weaknesses on all its functional areas so as to minimize its weaknesses and consolidate its strength. A firm must find out its strengths and weaknesses on all its functional areas so as to minimize its weaknesses and consolidate its strength. That one is self-explanatory. An internal audit needs to be conducted in respect of strengths and weaknesses of the functional areas. A summary steps in conducting internal audit is to develop an internal factor evaluation IFE matrix. The IFE matrix is an important tool of strategy formulation. This tool evaluates the major strengths and weaknesses in the functional areas of a business, and it also provides a basis for identifying and evaluating the relationship among those areas. So we can conduct an internal audit, and the steps are contained in an internal factor evaluation matrix that we are going to look at. The purpose of this is to identify the weaknesses and strengths of the organization in the functional areas. The internal factor evaluation matrix can be developed through the following steps. So you may need to write down this. The internal factor evaluation matrix can be developed through the following steps. 1. Identifying critical success factors. 1. Identifying critical success factors. The management must identify the critical success factors in all its functional areas. List out about 10 to 15 vital factors that are essential for the success of the organization. Some of the factors may be strengths and some others may be weaknesses. List out the strengths followed by the weaknesses. So you may need to write down, just write down in conducting the internal factor evaluation, a matrix is used, and the number one step is to identify critical success factors. Identify critical success factors by listing out about 10 to 15 vital factors that are essential for the success of any organization. As far as possible, state the factors with percentages, ratios, and comparative figures. For instance, market share increased by 10%, net profit grew by 20%, and bad debts reduced by 1% of credit sales, and so on and so on. You can see this one is an issue that is usually carried out mostly by top management, including the general manager, the finance sector, the operation director. They sit together and then they carry out this analysis, and then they carry out the analysis using factors with percentages, ratios, and comparative figures based on how the organization behaved in the previous year and how the organization is now moving forward. Number 2 is to assign weight to each factor. To assign weight to each factor. After specifically listing the vital internal factors, the management must assign a weight that ranges from 1 all important to 0 not all important to each factor. The weight assigned to each factor indicates the relative importance of the factor to become successful in the industry. It is to be noted that regardless of whether a key factor is an internal strength or weakness, factors that have greatest impact on organizational performance should be assigned the highest weights. The total of all weights must come to 1. The weights are industry based. Now, this is a way that we assign weight to each factor depending on the importance of each factor in the success of the organization. And then 3, assign rating to each factor. The management must assign rating to each factor. The rating may be in the range of 4 to 1. 4 for major strength, 3 for minor strength, 2 for minor weakness, 1 for minor weakness, for major weakness. It is to be rated that the ratings are company based, whereas the weights are industry based. It is to be considered that the ratings are company based, whereas the weights are industry based. So when we talk about weights, we may be comparing our organization to another organization that is in the same industry. And when we talk about ratings, then we are maybe talking about the company based ratings, depending on which are the strength of the organization or each particular department and which are the weaknesses of each particular department. Then we do a multiplication factor weight by rating. After assigning appropriate rating to each vital factor, then the management needs to multiply each factor's weight by its rating. This would enable to determine a weighted score for each factor. Total weighted scores, the weighted scores of each and every vital factor must be totaled up in order to determine the total weighted score for the firm. It is to be noted that regardless of the number of factors included in the IFE matrix, the total weighted score can range from a high of 4 to a low of 1, with an average score of 2.5. If the total weighted score is below 2.5, then it indicates a weak internal position of the firm. Whereas if the total weighted score is well above 2.5, then it indicates a strong internal position of the firm. So this is a very complex area, and this is something that is done by the top management in finding out the strengths and weaknesses of their organization. It is important for you as a student to understand that this is part of strategic management. You do not need to go deeper into this. However, as you grow in your career, it may reach a stage where you participate in these forums, because the objective of you going back to school is to grow your career, is to grow yourself as a person, and it is important to open your eyes into what happens in related to internal factor evaluation matrix. Let's turn our attention to competitive profile matrix. Competitive profile matrix. The management should develop a competitive profile matrix to identify firms' major competitors and their strengths and weaknesses in relation to that of the firm. The weights and total weighted scores in both CPM and IFE matrix have the same meaning, but the factors in and competitive profile matrix includes both internal and external ones, and the ratings refer to the strengths and weaknesses. We can say, for example, if we take Safaricom and Airtel, we know that Safaricom faces some major challenges in network connectivity in some of the remote areas, whereas Airtel has got a very good networks even in remote areas. So we can say the advantages or the strength of Airtel over Safaricom is related to network coverage. So Safaricom may consider that their competitor, who are Airtel, they have better network coverage than compared to them. So they may need to invest in more advanced systems to counter this advantage. There are certain differences between internal factor evaluation and CRP, which are as follows. CPM, which are as follows. The critical success factors in CPM are broader. They do not include specific or factual data and may even emphasize on internal factors. The critical success factors in a CMP are not grouped into opportunities and threats. In a CPM, the ratings and total weighted scores for rival firms can be compared to the firm under study. Such comparisons provide important internal strategic information. Such comparisons provide internal strategic information. Industry analysis. A firm is part of the industry, and therefore its working is influenced by the industry in which it operates. Michael Porter, one of the authors who is an advocate for strategic management, states that a structure analysis of industry be made so that a firm will be in a better position to identify its strengths and weaknesses. This means looking at your competitors who are in the same field. For example, Nation and Standard newspapers, looking at their competitors and finding out what are their strengths and weaknesses and how can we capitalize on our strengths over them to gain a competitive advantage. So this is what we call industry analysis. You analyze even yourself, you analyze yourself with other people in the security industry. How am I doing as a security personnel? How am I becoming successful, or how am I growing compared to other people? Also, he proposed a model consisting 5 competitive forces: threat of new entrants, rivalry among competitors, bargaining power of suppliers, bargaining power of buyers, and the threat of substitute products that determine the intensity of industry competition and profitability. So this guy called Peter proposed a model consisting of 5 competitive forces. Number 1, threat of new entrants. You know, new organizations are coming into the market each and every day, and they want to gain a market share of the business that you are carrying out. And then there is also rivalry among competitors. Competitors always compete, even when they're sourcing for employees, even when they're sourcing for systems. Competitors always compete, and then rivals always compete, and then bargaining power of suppliers, and then bargaining power of buyers, and the threat of substitute products that determine the intensity of industry competition and the profitability. So 5 competitive forces: threat of new entrants, rivalry among competitors, bargaining power of suppliers, bargaining power of buyers, and the threat of substitute products that determine the intensity of industry competition and the profitability. Threat of new entrants. There is always a threat of new entrants in the market, especially when an industry offers profitable prospects. The new entrants may desire to make good investments in the industry so as to get a good market share. The new entrants may take away a part of the market of the existing firms, or it may gain a share of the growing market. The existing firms may be affected due to the entry of new firms in the market. Existing firms may be affected due to the entry of new firms in the market. It is always good for there to be new organizations coming into the market, so that organizations also improve their services, improve their products, because they want to maintain their market share. But when an organization has monopoly, and you know one organization in Kenya that has monopoly over the rest, then it can do as it feels, because it knows that the demand for its services are always there, because it has monopoly over other organizations. So new entrants come with threats. The chances of new entrants entering the industry depend upon the entry barriers and the retaliation strategies adopted by existing firms. If the entry barriers are quite high, then the potential entrants may find it difficult to enter the market. So also, if the existing firms adopt aggressive retaliation strategies, then the new entrants would find it difficult to enter the market or sustain its entry. The entry barriers may be due to several factors, such as capital requirements may be very high, which may prevent new entrants from making investment. And then product differentiation by existing firm through aggressive advertising, sales promotion, and other such techniques may lead to brand loyalty, and customers may not be willing to accept the products of new entrants. So product differentiation. These are some of the obstacles that make it difficult for other new players or other new companies or organizations to gain or to enter into the market. You look at the environment and you realize that even if I start this kind of business, the competition is too high. I'll not be able to make a revenue from it. And then another barrier also is access to the distribution network. May be domination by existing firms through effective dealers relationships, which may act as an entry barrier for new entrants, as dealers may not be willing to stack and push sales of products of new firms. And then economics of large-scale production and distribution, leading to lower costs for existing firms, which the new entrants may not be able to match. So sometimes the new entrants find it difficult to enter into the market, and then they change strategy because of production and distribution economics. And then rivalry among competitors is also another obstacle to new entrants. The desire to be a market leader or to get a larger market share leads to rivalry among the competitors. The extent of rivalry among the firms affects the intensity of competition within the industry. For instance, when the rivalry is less, competition level is low and vice versa. The rivalry in the market can affect the existing firms as well as the new entrants. So rivalry among competitors is also another barrier. And then dimensions for rivalry among competitors. Competitive structure, it refers to the number of competitors, their size and diversity. Structures can range from fragmented to consolidated. Fragmented structures takes place when there is a large number of small or medium-sized firms, none of which is in a dominating position in the industry. Such a situation may arise due to low entry barriers. So fragmented structures takes place when there is a large number of small or medium-sized firms, none of which is dominating position in the industry. We also say a consolidated structure involves few large companies, and the actions of one large firm are matched by reactions from the other firms. The intensity of competition may range from low to very strong rivalry. And then there's also diversity among competitors implies that different firms operate with different organizational cultures, with different goals and ideas to compete in the market. Greater diversity can create problems to existing firms as well as to new entrants. These are some of the issues when we talk about rivalry in terms of organizational competitions. And then we say demand conditions. A high demand from the customers may lead to lesser competition in the market, as every firm may get a good number of sales in the market. However, when there is a stagnant demand, some firms may try to grab the market share from others with the help of aggressive marketing demand, and declining demand creates problems for existing firms as well as new entrants. These are just some of the issues related to strategic management, issues related to marketing and sales, issues related to how you position the organization in the industry, what is the level of your customers, how your items or services are in demand or not in demand. So these are some of the issues that we call demand conditions. A high demand from the customers may lead to lesser competition in the market. We also see exit barriers. There are also what we call exit barriers. Exit barriers means when an organization wants to move out now from the business. There may be certain exit barriers which may restrict the firm to leave the industry even during the times of stagnant demand or declining demand. The exit barriers may be economic, strategic, or emotional factors. Exit barriers is when you realize that the companies are not likely to make any income or to make any good revenue. So the organization decides that it is better if it will exit from the market, close down. So number one is economic factors. Maybe due to high investment in plant and machinery that have no alternative use. A company has invested a lot in plant and machinery, and now they want to close down the business, and they do not have an alternative usage for this equipment. Then the organization may be forced to stay in business to just try, because now it is very difficult to get a return on this investment in terms of plant and machinery. And then strategic factors may be due to strategic tie-up with other collaborations or interlinkages between business or the firm. Strategic factors. And then emotional factors may be sentiments attached to the business or products. Sentiments attached to the business or product. So these exit barriers make it very difficult for an organization to close business and to leave the market. these exit barriers make it difficult for an organization to close business and leave the market. For example, you are a security personnel and you want to move away from the security career to another industry. And when you look back progressively at your growth, you have invested a lot in security. You have done diplomas in security management. You have done several courses. You have spent a lot of money on CCTV surveillance, on a bachelor's degree in criminology and security. Now you decide that if I want to move away from this career, I go to another career, I need to start investing in that career again. And I have already used a lot of money in this one. So I'd rather stay in the business. I would rather stay in the business and continue to try my level best to gain an advantage over my competitors, but I am not leaving. So these are some of the exit barriers that may make it very difficult for you even to change career. Bargaining power of buyers. The bargaining power of buyers, either individually or collectively, also affects the position of suppliers and buyers in the industry. A high buyer bargaining power may adversely affect the existing firms as well as the newer entrants. The high buyer bargaining power may be due to when the buyer places a large order, when several alternative sellers or suppliers are present in the market, when the buyer may be in a position to produce such product or components. So this is what we call bargaining power. And bargaining power may be due to when the buyer places a larger order, when several alternative sellers or suppliers are present in the market, and when the buyer may be in a position to produce a product or components. Bargaining power of suppliers. The bargaining power of suppliers, either individually or collectively, can also affect the position of suppliers and buyers in the industry. A higher supplier bargaining power can adversely affect the position of the buyers. The suppliers may increase the price or may force the buyer to accept whatever is provided. Because if there is only one supplier of a particular brand of milk and there are no other suppliers, then it means the supplier has got bargaining power, that they can produce the milk in large quantity covering the whole country compared to their competitors. So in the industry players, the organizations will have no alternative. The shopkeepers will have no alternatives but to buy this business milk, particular milk, because this good milk can only be produced by this organization. There is no other organization that can produce this good milk. So that is what you call bargaining power, that the supplier has bargaining power to the fact that they are the only people who have the plant, who have the machinery, who have the best skill, the human resources to produce best quality items. Therefore, they have power over competitors. And then we also say a high supplier bargaining power may be due to when the suppliers are few in numbers, when the products or components supplied are unique in nature. That's what we have just spoken about. When the products supplied are not critical to the survival of the supplier, when the buyer buys in small quantity and therefore may not be important to supplier, when the supplier may be able to integrate forward and use its products to produce end product or services, etc. There is also the issue of threat of substitute products. The availability of close substitutes affects adversely the existing firms as well as new entrants in the market. The availability of substitute products. For instance, tap water or lime juice can be substitute for soft drinks, and tea can be a substitute for coffee, and so on. So when there are several substitutes, and then this one in the market, this affects adversely the existing firms as well as new entrants in the market. Naturally, those businesses where close substitutes are not available appear to be more attractive. The firms in which industries may charge higher prices and earn higher returns. So where there are no substitutes, then the companies may charge higher prices and earn higher returns. It is just like Safaricom. They were very much aware that the M-Pesa services are of higher quality, and the competition from other players in the network connectivity or in the mobile sector industry is very low. So they charge higher charges on transfer of money from one person to the other, knowing that there isn't any other competition. You don't have an alternative. You will still have to go back to Safaricom to send money to another person. So that is what we mean when we talk about the threat of substitute products. So when there are a lacking threat of substitute products, then a particular organization gains bargaining power. They have the power now to do whatever they want because they know anyway there isn't any competition. And then also, however, there are more chances of competition in such industries. Business firms have to adopt suitable strategies, taking into consideration the 5 forces as explained above. For instance, firms may adapt expansion strategies in the case where the industry does not have close substitutes, provided such expansion can bring economies or large-scale production and distribution, and in turn higher returns to the farm. When the farm realizes that there is a room to grow, room to open up more branches because the competition is not there, there are no substitutes, then the company then gains an expansion mentality, and it becomes very strong organization in the industry. Those are some of the issues that we talk about when we still go back to strategic management, when we talk about the firm's strength and weaknesses as pertains to growth in terms of market share and in terms of generating of revenue. Those are some of the issues that we go to back to when we talk about strategic management. I hope you have learned something from this presentation, because we have come to the end of this presentation, which was very short. I will continue with more other presentations from lesson 7 that are upcoming in the forthcoming weeks. So for today, we end there and we say thank you very much. And I hope to see you again very soon. Thank you and bye-bye.